Where is our real estate crystal ball? Well, it doesn't exist. But we do have key indicators that can get us as close to having a crystal ball as possible. Hi, my name is Nicole Black, your Arizona Realtor, and we're going to discuss some of these key indicators that are showing in our market to see potentially where our market might be going in the next couple of months. The first indicator we're going to take a look at is the yield curve. And you're probably hearing this a lot in the news because it's a pretty big indicator of what can or cannot occur in our future. So, the yield curve is when you have the 10-year and the 2-year treasury bonds, okay? So, typically, and what makes the most sense is if you have somebody hold your money longer, so you are longer you don't have your money, you should probably get some more back for it, correct? So the percentage should be higher. And if you give them just for a little bit of time, then it should be lower. Well, for a historically long time, that's been flipped. They call it an inverse yield curve. So you've been getting more money for your 2-year versus your 10-year, and that just doesn't make much sense. And if you look at this chart here, right here, the 2-year is the orange red color and the light blue is the 10. And the 2-year has gone past, so you get more for the 2 than the 10. And you can see it's been riding like that for a while now. So we don't want to have a negative relationship with the 2 versus the 10. And currently it is in a negative state. But they are right on top of each other right now. And at any point, you would think, because of historically looking at years past, over here, they break away from each other. And that's what we want. We want them to widen, to separate. So, one thing, what they define as slow growth, is when the central banks raise interest rates faster and the short term yield exceeds the long term yield, the spread turns negative. That is where we are at. We are in slow growth. That is actually the exact definition of where we are at right now. A recession is when high interest rates lead to more defaults, inflation caps consumption, central banks lower interest rates to stimulate the economy, and the short term yield falls. And then it widens. That spread. That is what a recession is. Now, could we be going towards that right now? I know you've heard defaults, yes, they are on the rise. Inflation is trying to get in control, and yes, our consumption has slowed down. But they haven't said we're actually in one yet. Well, I would say the government. A lot of people are saying we're actually in one right now, but I want to show you this. Regardless of what they want to call it or not, historically, these at some point do cross back over and they do widen. Now, when they cross back over, what happens to interest rates? All right, here is the Fed's chart of the 30-year fixed mortgage average in the United States. These are what the blue line is our mortgage rates. And the gray shaded bar areas on these historical timeline trends is recessions. So when we go into a recession, what happens to interest rates? So look at here, they fell. Right here, they went down. Here, they went down, down, down. So when we go into a recession, interest rates do come down. We are at a point right now where it's looking like this yield may cross, and if they cross and it widens, that is a recession. Remember, high interest rates lead to more defaults, the cap on consumptions. Central banks lower interest rates to then have the short-term yield fall because it's been high for way too long. So that and the spread widens, that would be the definition of what they're saying a recession is here. That were to occur, that means historically interest rates would come down. Now, what does that mean for housing prices? Let's take a look. Okay, so here now is the historic median sale price of houses sold in the United States over this time frame. Again, the blue line now is the median sale price of a home. The gray shaded bar areas are the time of recession. 1970 kind of went up. 1975, 80, okay, 90, yep. Yep. The only time houses prices fell during a recession was the 2008-2009 financial crisis. We had a black swan event occur, something that 99% of the population had no clue that was happening. So that was the only time housing prices fell during a recession. Most of the time they went up. And if interest rates during a recession typically come down, What do you feel will stimulate the economy with the housing and the housing prices? I know it seems a little kind of crazy to even think that that could be possible, that our housing prices could keep going up. But historically, and I was trying to find this map for you guys, this chart, and I was having a difficulty. And next time, if I can find it, I'll show it. But if we were on a trajectory of a 4% interest appreciation or 4% appreciation of housing prices since 2001 to 2024, our median sale price home would be almost on it. Nothing goes in a straight line, though. We have our ebbs and our flows. And could we come back down to come back up? Absolutely. I mean, that's just historically, that's how it does work. But based on the fact of where our yield curve is, where the economy is going, that we could be in or going into a recession, historically, as long as there's no black swan event, home prices would appreciate versus depreciate. So now let's take a look of the intricate details of what's going on specifically in our Arizona real estate market. Are we primed if interest rates were to come down and a recession were to occur to actually have our prices go up or down? I always like to show you guys the just basic 101 information in Arizona, our supply and our demand, because that's always where you've got to start. And then you branch out to the other layers of the onion, you would say, to what can affect our home prices in our economy here. So our active listings weekly count, as you can see, is just still going pretty steady Eddie, right? We are not really losing much of active listings. So whatever's going off is coming on pretty much. We're not gaining too much nor losing too much. I love to keep an eye on this, especially going into our Q4, where historically, as you can see, usually our supply does keep increasing. Now let's look at our demand, our listings under contract. Again, we're historically low, but we are following pretty much suit here. I mean, we're just going with the seasonal change of slowing down during our summer months. Again, we are the lowest we've been for under contract for that demand. Again, the supply isn't rising super fast. So where's that putting us on the buyers, sellers, or a balanced market? So, what I like to refer to is the Cromford Market Index. This is specific only to Arizona. So, if you've never heard of it before, again, this is only Arizona. They've been doing this for over 20 years and it's been extremely accurate. Now, this index, of course, takes in supply, demand, but many other factors as well. And for the 17 major cities in Arizona, we are in a balanced market. So we are at 100.9. You can't get more balanced than that. We're almost supply, the index equals the demand index. So we are in a balanced market. But what does that mean specifically if you're going to go buy a home in or sell a home in Cave Creek, Buckeye, Chandler, Scottsdale? Because real estate is hyper focused. So looking here at 17 major metro cities in Phoenix, Arizona, you can see that if you were to buy in Chandler right now, you would be or sell, you'd be in a seller's market. Now, granted, it's correcting, it's coming down, but 181, that's a very high CMI for that area. Avondale's at 164 all the way through down to Scottsdale. Those are pretty much in sellers markets. Now, given most of them are starting to weaken, but they're still sellers markets. If you're looking at from Peoria down to Paradise Valley, you're more in a balanced market, and Surprise to Buckeye is in a buyer's market at this time. So the way you go about negotiating either your contract to purchase or your selling position is completely different in all these cities. So you really do need to understand that's hyper focused. So even we say that overall the CMI is at 100 and we're a balanced market, it doesn't mean maybe the area that you're buying or selling is. Let's go over now our active cumulative days on market. Remember, we like to look at this more as a floating trend than an exact date or exact number. Always more of a trending looking at, because it's just all different agents mark pending versus under contract differently in different times. So, and that changes days on market. So right now you can see it's pretty steady. It's hanging around that 60 to 65 days on market right now currently, which is not terrible. It's not that bad. It's not the days where it was one day, but 2 months is not terrible to sell a home. Next, let's look at our month of supply. Why is this important? Well, it's the amount of supply that we have on the market versus demand for, let's say, right now it's at 2.8. So that means 2.8 months. If not one home were to come on the market in 2.8 months, there would be not one house left to sell. Now, remember, I told you that Comfort Market Index reports that we're at a balanced market, and anything between 1 and 3 months is kind of considered, it's basically considered a seller's market. Anything 3 to 6 is more your neutral. Anything over 6 is a buyer's market. We're on the cusp of that neutral market at 2.8 right now. I'd always like to make you aware right now, especially if people are getting loans, especially they're asking for seller paid concessions. So people who are getting loans are in that typical price point. They would rather get the help to buy down their rate than to get a lower price on the home. So you're seeing that these houses are getting probably about 99% of their listing price, but there is about on average right now almost $9,500 worth of concessions to help buy down that rate. So they rather, instead of getting like 10,000 off the house, they rather get 10,000 immediately to get that rate down so that their payment's more affordable. So now seeing that we do have supply, we do have demand equaling, almost equaling supply right now overall for the Phoenix metro area, that we have 700,000 more people living here than we did in 2008. We still are at 2.8 months worth of supply, which is still pretty low. So we're still very historically low on our supply. We still have a lot of people moving here or have moved here. If come this year, the feds decide that they're going to drop interest rates, what do you feel is going to happen to the prices of our homes? Now, another question is how far do they drop them, right? Because there's affordability that is still out there. It's still a thing. Not that people can't, no one can. There are people who can. It's just every time they bring down those interest rates a certain percentage, opens up another bracket of people that can afford. So even if they do, how far and how many are to be in that bracket is going to determine whether or not how high those prices can or do not go. So that is what we've got so far. We are on the cusp, I would say, of them finally bringing down those interest rates. Yes, they have even given us some relief, telling us that, yes, it should finally be coming. And if it does come, based on historically what's happened in the past, based on our supply and demand that's currently out there, you would guess the probability would lean more towards prices going up than going down when that occurs. But no crystal ball. All we have is our indicators, right? In every single week. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please always feel free to call, text, email, whatever your preferred communication is. We will get back to you. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe, because this is what we do almost every single week. We bring you all the data currently that's going on to make sure you're right there knowing what's happening in this local market, because it's hyper focused compared to the rest of the United States. My name is Nicole Black. I hope you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world today. And never forget, we are always here for you.